Okay, I got two stories that I'm going to bring today. Before I get started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Please turn notification on. Subscribe to Say About Children TV. It's on the YouTube channel that I'm on right now. Subscribe to it now. Hit the thumbs up. Share the video. Um, this story happened on Father's Day in Detroit. It's been shared a million times. The story is actually on Inside Edition where I discovered it. So I wanted to talk about this particular story because we always support children first on this channel. So as they see it, dad with baby fights a man who put gun on him on Father's Day. This man spent Father's Day protecting his child from a gunman. It happened at a gas station in Detroit. Police released video of the incident showing the suspect open the door to the gas station's convenience store, put out a gun and clipped from his pants, inserted the clip and then pointed it at a man inside who was holding a baby. Person of interest has since been apprehended. This is the guy in the white t-shirt with the weapon in his hand, pointing it. You see the father with the child blocking him. So here's the news clip. Okay, let's talk about it. I talk about this scenario all the time. And I talked about gun safety and how to properly own a gun. This guy who chose to pull out a gun and aim it at a father who's holding his child. Number one, I could bet any amount of money that this career man with the gun is a career criminal. Anybody who has a gun, and just points it at you and try to use it against you during an altercation should not be having a weapon. And I'm 100% sure that this guy have a rap sheet. And I guarantee that it's not his first time shooting a gun off or using a gun and pointing at people. This happened in this happened in Detroit, Michigan. And this guy have no respect for anybody around him inside this gas station. There could have been anybody in and out that gas station. You see in a video that it's a lot of cars. You know, he could have shot it off around, and the innocent person could have got shot. That father could have got shot. That infant in his hand. You know, it's some people do not need to have weapons. Detroit, Michigan is one of the highest crime state. And I think that as long as there's criminals walking the streets with guns and using them for the wrong reasons, we're going to continue seeing people being killed. We're going to continue seeing people being robbed, carjacked, shot. We got to put the change to what's going on in America. We, as the people, we can't stand by violence anymore. We got to speak up, tell somebody. And this guy needs to be arrested for pointing a gun at a father on Father's Day, let alone pointing it at him while he had a child in his hand. With or without his child in his hand, you don't point a gun at somebody. It's just not what you do. So, um, I hope that this gunman get serious time for what he did. Okay. This next story is out of Washington D.C., state of Washington D.C. And this happened during a Juneteenth celebration, and they just released the 15-year-old who was killed and his age. His name is 15-year-old Chase Poole. This is him right here. Here's the article. It says teen killed in DC shooting at 14th and U. Two officers were hurt. So at least four people were killed in the shooting. So at least one person opened fire after police broke up the unpermitted martial event. DC Chief of Police Robert Conti said a 15-year-old boy was killed and three people, including a DC police officer, were shot and wounded near 14th and U Streets Northwest on Sunday, authorities said. Chase Poole was the shooting victim. His family told News 4 on Monday morning, "We're working to learn more about who he was and the tragedy that took his life." The search for the shooter or shooters continued Monday. The shooting began after two separate incidents following what DC Chief of Police Robert Conti called an unpermitted event held by the group Marcella at about 6 p.m. They had promoted a Juneteenth event celebrating DC go-go music. Several hundred people gathered. At one point, there was some type of incident or fight among the crowd that was broken up. Authorities said that after a secondary incident, people started to flee and some had their legs and ankles trampled. The incident happened over about 2 hours, Conti said. We attempted to facilitate an event, in this case where people showed up as a result of social media posting. Conti said it was an unpermitted event. There were over 100 police officers that were there, fire and EMS workers that were on the scene, and someone introduced a firearm on the situation. So whether it was a permitted event or unpermitted event, that doesn't really matter at this point. What I'm really focused on right now is finding the person who took the life of this 15-year-old who shot two other people and injured one of the eight, and the person who took the life of a 15-year-old. The shooter who took the shooter who shot two other. So the shooter also shot two other people, injured one of my officers. Shot one of my officers on the scene at 14th and U Street. Cell phone video taken from above the scene shows members of the crowd running west along U Street. After about 10 seconds, the rush slowed, and officials in yellow vests were seen standing in the intersection. While officers shut down the event and paramedics treated victims who suffered injuries while running away, the gunfire that would claim the life of a teen and injured three others erupted. The two adults and the officer who was shot in the lower extremities are recovering at a hospital, Conti said. Police recovered several firearms throughout the night. One belonged to a victim, but officers did not find the suspect's gun. No officers fired the weapons, Conti said. The victims who survived are stable, but the extent of the injuries were not shown. A potential motive for the gunfire or either of the incidents before it was not revealed. A police helicopter hovered above the area about 11 p.m. as the officers searched for a shooter or shooters. We have a child who was killed today at an event that did not have any public planning for the number of people who were here and with guns involved. And with our police managing a crowd on site, somebody used a gun and a child is dead. DC Mayor Muriel Brower said, "It was tragic. Witness Jay Brown said it was very scary. It was unfortunate. He said he pushed his daughters into bushes to keep them out of harm's way. Took my daughter, slammed them in bushes, got on top of them. He said it appears that the victim ran right past us. It was very scary because we did not know what was going on. I was scared to lift my head up. I was scared to let my daughters up." Conti said police department would look into whether legal action should be taken against the organizers of the unpermitted event. Yedidia, a Marcella organizer, shared a statement signing by the Long Live Go team, reading in part, "As we continue to cultivate a platform to uplift the culture of Washington, D.C., we don't condone violence of any sort. Marshall is a symbol of black culture in D.C. and built as a foundation of peace. Please keep this in mind moving forward as occurrence of such will not be tolerated and will result as being stripped of the opportunity to activate our platform." That statement continued. Sabo Harris, an advisory neighborhood commissioner representing an area near 14th and U Streets, who was running DC Council. Many officers were on the scene and had a permit would not have prevented the violence. Um, my thoughts are with the victims and families who were injured and killed tonight. One instance of violence is one too many, and we must create solutions that get the root of the systematic issues that are allowed to perpetuate when we continue per- per- funding sources that are reactionary at best, she said. The 14th and U intersection touches wards 1 and 2. Current council members Brooke Pinto and Brian Newton did not immediately respond to inquiries. So the regular video is on NBC. It's still about the strike. Now, what I know about the situation is, yeah, let's see what it was. Earlier this morning, I'm on a news website, and there have been a lot of similar shootings just like this at these events. Um, there was just a shooting at a Father's Day event. I believe it was in New York City. There have been a lot of mass shootings within the past couple of days. And I say this, whoever, in my opinion, my humbled opinion, I feel this more. I think it's multiple shooters out there. It's just what it is, in my opinion. Secondly, why would you bring a gun to an anti-black function? I don't understand why people do just the dumbest things in America. We're here to talk about and educate gun violence. So why would you bring a gun to an event? Pass it along to the next person. So that person could do damage in that area. I mean, it don't make no sense. You killed a 15-year-old boy. You know, it's just some people just don't belong on the streets. And whoever is responsible for the shooting death of the 15-year-old who was killed needs to pay. needs to be in jail and needs to pay for what they did. They caused the life of an innocent 15-year-old. It's a crying shame that you can't celebrate Black heritage without violence. It shows you that you can't trust what comes out of people's mouths. Oh, let's come together and honor Black heritage. Yeah, you say one thing, but yet commit a crime and do another. So how can we believe what you said? Here's the video. The video's on Twitter, so I gotta pull it up.
Are you ready, Bob? You got the card? Good evening, everyone. Robert J. County, 3rd Chief of Police here in Washington, D.C. This evening, around 6 o'clock hour, there was an unpermitted event that took place in the 1400 block of U Street, Northwest. That event was associated with a group known as Mochella. There was a truck that had playing music on it. And while this event was going on, apparently this started on social media, several hundred people began to gather in the area of the 1400 block of U Street. Most of the group was contained initially to the sidewalk. MPD members responded to the area to assist in the area, and at some point during the course of this gathering, there was some type of incident or fight that happened between some of the individuals who were in attendance. That incident was broken up. Shortly thereafter, there was a secondary incident. We're not unsure what that incident was, but people started to scatter at that point. MPD members began to shut the event down because it appeared that the event was unsafe at this point. So once the officers shut the event down, there were several MPD resources as well as public safety resources from DC Fire and EMS that were also on the scene trying to clear out the area because there were several people who were injured as a result of their leg or ankles being trampled as they tried to run from the area. Shortly thereafter, while MPD officers, while DC Fire medical services are on the scene rendering aid to the victims who were injured and moving about the area, a firearm was recovered from an individual in this area. Shortly after that, there was another incident that occurred right at the corner of 14th and U within very close proximity of our first responders. Several individuals were shot. To include a police officer. So right now we had 3 civilian persons that were shot, 2 adults, 1 juvenile, and then 1 police officer who was shot. The police officer is recovering from an area hospital. 2 of the victims are also recovering at an area hospital. 1 victim at this point, a juvenile victim, it appears that juvenile is deceased at this point. Unfortunately, we've recovered several firearms in this area, to include a firearm off of one of the persons who was shot in this incident. So we are working very closely with our partners here in the public safety cluster. The mayor and the other pieces of the DC government are here on the scene, really trying to go through, clear out the area, do the investigation, and still take care of the things that we need to take care of along this 14th and U Street corridor. I know that's really a mouthful, but all of this occurred in the span of about 2 hours, between 6 and about 8:30. So these events occurred here at 1400 block of U Street. If there are any questions that you have, I can answer. Yes, Darcy. Yes. This was the Mochella event. Yes. Yes. It was an unpermitted event by the Mochella group, but yes, it was. It was the Mochella event. That's correct. The officer, I just talked to the officer. I'll be headed to the hospital shortly. He received a gunshot wound to the lower extremity. He's going into CAT scan, but it appears that he's going to be okay. The other 2 individuals that were shot have gunshot wounds. I'm not exactly sure where those injuries are, but it appears they're in stable condition. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the juvenile, it appears he's 15 years of age. Next question. Yes. No, the officer did not fire. We had a lot of officers in the area, but none of our officers fired shots. There's a total of four. So there's three. So you have the juvenile, you have two adults, and then one police officer. Yes, it appears it was a handgun that was being used. That's correct.
Several people shot. Several. One dead, and multiple others. First and foremost, I want to give my sincere condolences to the victim's family. It's not easy losing a loved one. Can't imagine what the family's going through. It's. I'm gonna tell you what I hate about criminals, especially criminals who kill people. They will kill somebody, and they know they killed somebody. Then they will run and try to go and hide. And then think it's the police job to go and track you down. It's not. You kill somebody, turn yourself in. First of all, stay at the scene and wait till police get there and get yourself locked up right there, cuffed and taken to jail. You don't deserve to even like. It's time to come together. It's time to get assault rifles, handguns, all of that off the streets. It's time for us to come forward and really think before we do, because your actions have an effect. When you kill somebody, that action is not an effect that you chose. And your effect, right? You put an effect onto somebody else's family. No, you're gonna be suffering the rest of your life, or the rest of your life, or even 10, 15, 20 years in prison. Now, automatically, when this case files to judge, the shooter would at least got 50 years to life in prison. I'm gonna tell you why. You chose to bring a gun to an event and use that gun and shoot people like animals. You're an animal for what you did. I'm gonna put that out there. Whoever is the shooter is a coward animal. Like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification on, turn your bells on. Let me know in the comments what you think about these stories. It's crazy that you can even celebrate yourself at a heritage parade and celebrations, a Juneteenth event, and you open fire at a Juneteenth event. And the reason why Juneteenth events happen is because so much violence that's going on, and we try to bring the communities together, and we try to do that. You shoot people down. Come on. But thank you so much for watching. See you guys there. Don't go up there try to spend all of them. And can I get something for work?